Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. Happy Mother's Day to all of you who celebrate, and certainly to the wives of people listening to and watching this program. God knows they need all the support they can get because all we do is talk about Bitcoin. My name is Joey. That's Len. Busy week in Bitcoin, Len. Did you see the Coinbase stock news after work today?
Yeah, you posted in one of the chats. Now, did that have any bearing with their stock price?
10% after hours, 4% during trading hours today. So it's a significant jump. I'm very happy about my bags.
We'll talk about Coinbase today, just for you. We'll give a
Sure.
little bit. No, it won't be this. All right, we'll discuss Coinbase and.
I'm going to have to move it to this. I've seen the topic. I'm going to have to slide it over to this during the conversation.
Please, because we have to discuss Coinbase, right? There's lots to talk about over there, given what they're doing. I can't believe. Well, let's not discuss it just yet.
We don't want to spoil the fun. We don't want to spoil the fun. We can.
100%.
Yeah, we'll do the sponsors. EasyDNS, the best place for you to host a website, buy a website, port a website. Mark will help you with all that stuff. He's your friendly neighborhood domain registrar. Lots of good stuff over there, Len. Mark is always adding to the suite of available services. So you get obviously the standard, you buy a website, Mark will help you out. You get email services, and you can add stuff like blogs and other sort of features that we use on the CBP website. For example, we have a lot of stuff linked there. And although we haven't written anything in a while, you can go there and see that we have a WordPress plugin going and all this other stuff, which is fantastic. But if you're really serious about your security and the security of the people who are using the website, there's two other things you should get. One is Easy Mail, which is a secure mail service. So you don't have your email spoofed, as we talk about every week on Access of Easy. People losing their information, Len, every week. It's unbelievable what's going on with with the boomers these days. I say boomers, but honestly, looking at some of the people I tweet back and forth with, who I think are my age, probably not just them that are getting hit. And then obviously as well, there's Easy Mail, and then was the other one, DomainSure. DomainSure was the other security feature option that Mark has available for just a couple extra bucks. If you host a website with EasyDNS, you will not be at risk if you let Mark take care of you. And we want to help you with that. So what do? You go over to EasyDNS, you use the promo code CBP Media, you get 50% off your first round of buys. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Money back guarantee. Pay in Bitcoin if you like. Mark, the original Bitcoin treasury company. And obviously he's been a partner and friend to the show for a long time. So go over, use the code, and start your website, man. Feel good about what you're doing and get it out there with EasyDNS. Who's the other sponsor?
Bull Bitcoin. You know what? People are using Bitcoin all over the world, even in Costa Rica, Jolie. Even in Costa Rica, they're using Bull Bitcoin, which is phenomenal because they're located there. But they're also located in Canada. So if you're in Canada, you're looking for an exchange, a good one, non-custodial, Bull Bitcoin is the way to go. Why? Like I mentioned, non-custodial, that's one. Two, privacy. They make stuff before it's sent to you. But other things that's very good for them, like, look, you could do on-chain. Fees are starting to creep up a little bit right now, just starting. So you get the option. You don't have to buy on-chain, especially when fees are very, very, very high. You could use Lightning to do that. So set up your own Lightning node, and you can have funds directly sent to your Lightning wallet, and you're good to go. But you could also do a couple other things with Bull Bitcoin, which are fantastic. One, pay your bills. Say you got some outstanding bills, Maybe there's some people still from Christmas that haven't paid off their bills, and they're getting collections knocking on the door, calling them. It's time to end that. You could use your Bitcoin. Price of Bitcoin spiked in the past few days. So I guess it's a pump for ants, but either way, people could use their Bitcoin to pay those bills through their bill service. Secondly, you could use a Bitcoin and buy gift cards, right? Like this is one way you could start spending Bitcoin in the real world in Canada, by buying these gift cards with your Bitcoin. Check them out. Use our referral link below. If you do that and open an account, 0.25% will be taken off your fees in perpetuity. So you will get lower fees when you buy. The spread is right there. There's a new website. It's fantastic. Check them out. Available in lots of parts of the world. Costa Rica, Mexico, lots of Europe, like France, and so check them out.
We like it. Let's do some boosts, and then we'll switch over to housekeeping. We'll talk about what's coming up on the show.
Okay, so Jer writes in. Jer wrote in a few times this week. Thank you, Jer. And 2,000 sats. He said, I really enjoy this episode. Jeez, I got to figure out which one he wrote that for. That was one of our episodes from Monday, Tuesday last week. Like the ones we split up in half.
Jared, love you.
Business
buddy.
Cat writes in 5,000 sats. CBP is rapidly becoming an important part of my 40 hours per week. I like the fact that still people are doing the 40 hours, or maybe 40 is a little low if you're looking at you, Boom Dust. Maybe it's time to boost
How many
it up.
should you get? What is the food pyramid recommendation for Bitcoin podcast hours per week?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
I know you don't
right?
listen
Like
to anything.
if
God,
I'm
I
at
can't believe it.
Well, if I'm at 3 hours, that's a ton for me per week. So you could tell me what's the proper spread.
I think it's
I think we're
like
both.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but like listening intently is different. So I want to know from the 40 HPW crowd, do I just have to have the podcast running, or do I have to be able to tell you the Coles notes of the podcast? This is an important distinction. So I'm going to refrain from commenting any further till I know exactly what listening means to these guys.
Just noise for the most part.
It's not that it's just noise. Like, I listen to a lot of stuff, and I don't necessarily retain all of it, but it helps me form opinions and sort of gather the direction of what people are thinking in the broader Bitcoin /market / finance space. Hold your tomatoes. I listen to stuff that's not Bitcoin too. So there's that to consider as well.
What is that? Hold your tomatoes.
Hold your tomatoes? What?
Oh, that's the name of a podcast?
No, hold your tomatoes is what you say when you're about to say something unpopular. Like, I don't listen to only Bitcoin podcasts. Yeah, don't throw tomatoes at me.
Okay, sorry. That would have been it. That's a great name. Hold your tomatoes.
Save it, yeah.
Yeah. Jer, again, 10,000 sats. Not too bad.
Thanks, Jer.
Great conversation. Super respectful. Learned a bunch. And that's, that was with Mr. Arnome and Mr. Bitcoin all caps. Give them both the misters. They deserve
that was a banger episode.
You know what? That's the first time Mr. All Caps has been on a podcast. He's been in Spaces before many, many, many times. But it's the first time he's come on a podcast. So it's awesome to have him come on.
Was a banger. Those two guys are smart as all hell and have been around and understand what's at risk with the filters thing. So very strong. Opportune, still a hot topic this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a bit.
Maybe resolve. Business Cat again, 10,000 sats. Powerful fundamentals. I like that. Very well done as a way to give homage to Mr. Fundamentals, giving him the Mr. title as well.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Mr. Rod Palmer, and another 10,000 sats comes in.
Rodeo Rod. Okay.
Just writes in hashtag 40 HPW hours per week. And that's it. That's all he writes in. So thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Great stuff. Yeah, man, great episodes last week from you. Two bangers, obviously, with Fundies and then with the boys from Bitcoin CA and the Bitcoin Discord. I mean, those guys are heavies. And like I said, I've been around, understand the development of Bitcoin, the development of the social layer, and where those two things collide is on something like Opportune, honestly. And there's been other examples, but this one I think is a little bit more consequential than the ones before it. So
they're very opinionated, right?
Yeah.
Like
why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be, right? This is, when you think about, not to like, I don't know how much these guys have riding on Bitcoin, but I think the answer is more than we do. And, I would be opinionated too. I would care a lot about that. I think I care a lot about Bitcoin, but I can't imagine how much these guys care. They probably care a whole bunch more and have been around a whole lot longer. So yeah, when they speak, I want to listen. I want to hear what they say, and I hope you guys felt the same way.
And the good thing is, I think that Mr. Arnold is going to come back again in the not too distant future. As for Mr. All Caps, I can't say for certain. The door's always open for him to come back, but really, I'm not sure if he wants to. It's really dependent, I guess, on the time of day and how he feels that morning. So we may hear at least one very near future, but two would be awesome. Once again, I know Mr. Arnome said he'd like to come back again at any time. So whenever there's a hot topic that comes up, I'm going to think of him as one of the top guests to invite.
Definitely.
Whether you like it or not, people, he's going to come on again.
Yeah, and Fundamentals and those two guys are welcome anytime. They're favorites of the listeners, favorites of you and I, and I recommend people listen to them whenever.
Fundamentals was almost a year to the day.
Yeah,
that he last was on the show. Like almost.
That's crazy.
It's funny that it's like every year he comes on.
He's getting ready for his next appearance next May. Should be good. This week.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to be interviewing a gentleman by the name of Shay. And he is a resident of El Salvador. Very up to speed with respect to Bitcoin and technology, and he hasn't yet been around in the podcasting circuit, Joey. But I think we are the first to have him come on. So this is going to be a lot of fun to introduce him to the podcasting world. And I look forward to chatting with him because apparently he's got a lot of bright ideas. And I'm going to see if I could tap into that and get him to speak his mind.
Comes highly recommended from someone we trust. And so
Yes.
he is welcome on the program. And if you guys have ideas for next week, I haven't booked anybody because I've been busy and Len has taken the interviews for the last 2 weeks. I'm going to jump back on next week. If you have any ideas for people to discuss something with, Bitcoin or otherwise, let me know and I'll reach out. Otherwise, I'll dip into the stable of CBP favorites and we'll go from there. Where do you want to start tonight? We got this is an interesting week in news. I'm not reading this comment, but yeah,
you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, it is funny. Spotify, Toby, no, that's Shopify. What's the Spotify guy's name again? Dan Eck. Dan Eck is about to shut this podcast down if we read that comment.
Is he the CEO of Spotify?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not up to speed with that. Anyways,
let's hit it. Where do you want to start? We got some bangers, man.
Up return! It's back. It makes another return. Up return does. It's still in the news. And so there's really just 2 points I want to bring up because I don't want to beat a dead horse even further. But one thing of note is I guess we'll call it the Bitcoin core dominance, for lack of a better term. It's being chopped up. And last I saw, Knots was running at around 8+% of all reported nodes out there. So people are making a decision with their CPU power. And as a result of all this, because there's been a lot of backlash and people changing their Bitcoin node client of choice, the Bitcoin core team has decided to say, well, we're going to hold off on this. And maybe hold off is not the wrong word. They're not going to go ahead with this up return removal change. So it's a good thing they were able to digest this properly. They made the right decision right now. Unfortunately, I think a lot has been lost with trust within their team.
Talk to me about it. Let's hear about it.
Well, people are upset with them, right? And they were arbitrarily making a move without real discussion, without having people participate. And it seemed like it was a step in the wrong direction. At the very least, you could probably raise it to a higher number. Removal might be a bridge too far to cross. But you know what? They did, I think, the right move right now. But it just could be just damage control more than anything. And that's what I fear. If that's the case, if they're doing just to save face, then it's like, I don't know. And I'm not to say that everybody should run Knots. Run whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, this is the beautiful thing about it. In fact, I was gonna fork Core. I'm not sure if you saw this, but I was gonna fork Core, and on version 30, I was just gonna copy the code that was removed with respect to the op return and just put it back in as 83 bytes. Yeah. And that would have been it. So if you still wanted to run Core, you could have still ran Core in my fork that I was going to propose, but it's not needed. So it's right.
Like, fork yourself if you want to fork, as the old saying goes, right? Yeah.
I like options, but I don't really have much else to say. I discussed a lot about this in the past 7 days. So really, what more can I say about this? You probably have a lot that you want to get off your chest because there's been a lot of movement. But for me, I'm turned out.
Let me ask you. So some criticisms of the core dev team and the Knots quote unquote dev team, Luke, basically, over the last 7 days that I think needs to be addressed. And again, I'm not technical. I don't run a node. Everyone knows this. Okay. So I'm really just shooting my mouth off here, but
you will one day.
I will one day. I know. Yes. You gave me the laptop. I have to put a Linux Mint thing on there. But the thing I want to know from you, since you're more connected, you can tell me if I'm off base on this. The criticisms about Core being run by a team of devs and going through many different sets of eyes and having proper review and a more thorough review because of the number of people working on this thing, as opposed to Knots, which is, according to the critics, a one-man show, and you're going to have problems because it's not being reviewed by one guy. I don't think that's a good criticism. And I think that the guys who are supporting Core on that crutch are kind of giving away the game. That they can't win on they can't win on quality, and so they're trying to win with attacks that only make sense if you're not really paying attention to how development works in the two clients. It sounds to me like knots is basically just core minus or plus, depending on how you look at it, more features. And the code review is done more or less 95, 96%, maybe more. As you mentioned there, it's, a couple lines of code on core. And then the knots guys, whether it's Luke or one of his buddies, just make the changes for the filters. And, when I saw that criticism, I thought, that really tells me something about the case these guys think they have on the sort of the qualitative side. They don't think they have a winning case. They know that the people who are talking about knots and running their own version of the Bitcoin software are correct. And they're trying to paint it as dangerous, as not reviewed, as things that they should know are not true. And I suspect they do know are not true, of course. And they're trying to attack the sort of mid-curve majority node runners and saying, look, you can't run this, blah, blah, blah. This is better for you. I really think that gave away the game. I'm curious if you feel the same way or if that even crossed your radar. For me, as someone who doesn't run a node and doesn't think much about this stuff, when I started seeing that a few days ago, I thought, this is really, it's telling to me that they've gone this direction, that camp is seen as seems to have, embraced, like P-Man is saying in the chat, the trust the experts type thing. I really thought that was the end of the road for them. What do you think?
They've been doing this for a while though, with releasing
criticizing knots for being a one-man show that doesn't get properly reviewed when 99% of the code comes from core and their review team. I have never seen that attack before. Knots has been targeted, not this exclusively or with this much focus, but it's been targeted in the past. I've never heard that criticism before, but I heard it a lot the last few days.
Oh, they have always had this parental way of dealing with things. Look at when it comes with releasing information for the CVEs, any sort of bugs within core.
Yeah,
they released this information way after the fact, and they're releasing information for clients that haven't been maintained for years, many, many, many years. And so why are they doing this? Because they know what's best for us. And this isn't by doing this move. I mean, before this recent change about them shelving the op return removal idea, it was for our best interest in that they believe. They're
allegedly, yeah, exactly.
Right? Like that's come on. I want to have it. If there was an option out there, like if there was hypothetically a slider that you had on there, and the end user, when they load up their Bitcoin core, and they could adjust the slider and how much they want their op return limit to be, either not there, so it's unlimited in terms of like 1 megabyte, or up to say, or as low as 40 kilobytes, like the way Luke has it. Like, give the people the option to do whatever they want. Don't force things down our throat. But like I said, when I was talking about potentially doing a fork of core and just putting that code, because this is open source, we have the ability to make changes ourselves. We're not forced to follow one particular client. We can do whatever we want. There seems to be a lack of clients, so to speak, even though there's just about 10, a dozen or so. It's really just two big ones.
Yeah, no, it's only two. I mean, look at you mentioned that. You mentioned the spread really there, right? The 4% is the major second player in the ecosystem. Now I will say that the version, I can't remember if you said this during your breakdown, the version before the most recent version also started to gain quote unquote market share against the other versions, which also tells you that even if people were not running knots, they were unwilling to run the newer versions of core as a message. No, but to see it gain strength like that, I think that was I think that was off of what you normally see in terms of the adoption pattern. That's my understanding. I've only been looking at this for the last 3 weeks because it's been topical for the show. Otherwise, I would never look at this. But that seemed to me to be a message as well.
It's not like it's Windows where it's forcing you to download.
Yes. But by that same token, guys who are going backwards in the software.
That's a huge move.
Yeah.
That's a huge. But one thing to consider too is the newest version, and this applies to everything. It seems to lag in terms of getting adoption. like Windows 11 when it came out. I don't even know if it has the majority of the market share for Microsoft operating
I
systems.
don't know.
But Windows 10 had a huge, and it just took time to slowly chop away at it. And I have no idea what it is now. But that's just always the case. It just because the old one, people have used it, they're familiar with it, or they just don't give a fuck and don't want to update it. Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm using an older version of Core that I still have to update. This one's no longer maintained. I fucking just compiled the one that is still being maintained just this weekend. I just have to type make install to finalize this. I just been fucking busy with shit lately. But so I'm behind the curve.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is I said before last week or 2 weeks ago, can't remember when we started talking about this, but the social layer is proving itself to be a target for people who want to change Bitcoin. And I think this time has proven itself to be a formidable target for those people who want to attack the way that this thing works, which I was happy about. And, the other thing I'll note, and we can leave it on this or you can add a comment after, but I think a lot of people now take interest in the way that Bitcoin Core operates compared to stuff like knots. And they're looking at stuff like op return. They're looking at stuff like network bloat and asking, why is this the way it is? Whose idea was this? Where did this idea come from? How did this development or this PR merge? Like when did it merge? Who was the dev? Who was the, who were the stakeholders? Who supported it? Who didn't? Stuff like that, right? I would never have known, for example, that Luke Dashier, Dash Jr., whatever the guy's name is, who's now super against stuff in, what is the term he uses? Arbitrary data. He's super against arbitrary data, but in 2011 and 12, he, like I said last week, he was pumping a lot of Bible verses into the blocks and he wasn't against that. Now you could say it's different than pictures and I would agree, but the principle of what arbitrary data is it should be consistent. And I enjoyed kind of learning a bit more about, his past and Peter Todd's past and seeing some of the guys who you kind of like know as Bitcoiners, they have opinions on a lot of things and you might follow them from your, first foray into Bitcoin Twitter and maybe you haven't heard from them in a while or forgot why you followed them. You're starting to look at those guys now and think like, okay, well, what are your motivations? Well, who do you work with? Who do you work for? What are you pro? What are you against? And I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to that now. That's one thing it did. I think more than anything, it turned on a lot of what would have been lay people not paying attention to development. May start paying attention now, which is great. Although some devs will say I shouldn't have an opinion because I've never merged a pull request, but fuck you. How's that?
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. So that would negate just about everybody's opinion if you listen to that type. And that's a Lop thing, isn't it? Am I wrong?
Yeah, sure
it is
is.
Lop, right?
Sure
we'll talk about him.
He's a clown. We can talk about him if you want. He's a clown. Yeah.
But before we even go down that path, fuck it. Let's just end this topic. I'll take that.
Sure.
We'll just keep going down.
We did like 40 minutes on this last week. We're already at like 15 this week. So.
I think it's burnt out, in my opinion. This New Hampshire news that came out, and I don't know about you, Joey. I don't know what's it with me, but I don't give a flying fuck about it. I don't know why, but this seems like low energy, and it's like almost in the same realm of Jeb Bush when you're talking about low energy, right? Like New Hampshire said that, and they didn't say, they actually did. They passed a law for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and that's now been signed off by their governor, and it allows the state to buy precious metals and Bitcoin and potentially shitcoins. But I'm going to give some information on that. The shitcoins, in order for them to purchase it, they must have a market cap of at least $500 billion. If you do a look on coinmarketcap.com, you will see only one digital asset is above that threshold. That's Bitcoin. The second closest is ETH, and that's around 300 billion. So based on what I see now, they can only buy precious metals and Bitcoin and add it to their balance sheet. I just don't know about it, but for whatever reason, I don't seem to give a fuck about it. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a small state. They're the live free or die state. So they're at least living by that motto. But one last thing I just have to say, according to the bill, they're not going to custody their Bitcoin. They're going to use somebody else to do that. And somebody that has insurance, they say, and all this fucking bullshit. More of this crap that shouldn't be done. But either way, I don't know if you're in the same camp as me, like of not giving a fuck about this, because I certainly don't.
Okay, two things. One, the law itself. Shout out to DP Dennis Porter, doing good work. I think you may disagree with the dilution of the bill, crypto, Bitcoin, precious metals, blah blah blah. But there's no doubt that Porter is doing good work. I feel like I could give him a shout out because he takes a lot of shit on the Bugle and he takes a lot of shit on Twitter. But I think he's good. I'd love to have him back on the show again at some point because I think he's doing a lot of good work and introducing people to this stuff in a way that they may otherwise not have been introduced. It's a friendly introduction. It's a low risk introduction, and I get the feeling that he's going to keep stacking up wins, which is good. I'm going to be on Mike Campbell's Money Talks in a few weeks, and my plan is to talk about this slow money thesis that I outlined on Why Are We Bullish a few weeks back. And I'll talk about it a bit here too. I want to see more of this for one reason and one reason only. Not because I think that state adoption is going to trigger the marginal buyers of Bitcoin, the ones that are just off the chart to send the price to $1 million overnight. I don't think that's going to happen. But what I want to see is volatility on the downside reduced by entities buying and holding either through ETFs or through spot in vehicles and for purposes that are not easy to sell back into the market. So endowments, state pensions, state treasuries, stuff like that. That's what I want to see. This is a good example of that. The other thing that I think is important is on a broader, this is not, New Hampshire's not global in nature necessarily, but the idea that a U.S. state who probably gets preferred U.S. bond rates is choosing to go through the process, even if it's just a kind of a dog and pony show, to sign a bill that allows them to invest in metals, Bitcoin, and crypto instead of short-term debt. When short-term debt seems to be the place everybody wants to go now on the nation state level, that's good. That's a signpost. I think that that's important. And I think that the more that other countries, other nation states, provinces, pensions like OPSU or the teacher's pension, whatever, right here in Ontario, the more that they look at that and they say, you know what? These guys who could get bonds in the reserve currency at a preferred rate in the most liquid market in the world at any duration they want, really, are going through this process and thinking about buying Bitcoin. Why? It's an introduction that those types of slow money vehicles need. And they don't want to be the first, right? We've talked about that before. The career risk that exists investing in something like Bitcoin when the volatility is what it is significant. And it's not something you could easily recover from as an investment advisor, certainly not one that's responsible for a pension or the like, or a state treasury. So you need people to plow some snow for you. And this is what's happening in New Hampshire. So I like it. I don't know if it's as significant as maybe the breaking boys and the clickbait boys want you to think, but it's not a nothing announcement. And you're going to see more and more of these. Part of the reason I think you may view it as boring is because it's happened a bunch over the last year. Is that part of it, you think? It's like no longer...
Has it happened as another state? This is the first state, from what I understand, that has done this.
But I'm more talking about like announcements of this nature, right? Like maybe not states, but we've seen like pensions looking at it, endowments. We've seen people buying MSTR and the ETFs at that level. And
I'm at the point, I don't care who buys. Yeah. I think it's now because enough water has flown under the bridge. And whoever buys it, all the more power to you. And whoever doesn't buy it, have fun staying poor. Mm-hmm. And if you do buy it, hopefully you do the right thing. If not, again, just do whatever you want with your Bitcoin. There is no rules to follow with it. If you want to burn it, be my guest. You want to hold on to it, be my guest. I honestly just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if the state wants to do it, great.
Hell yeah.
I'm at this point, whatever.
Real question. You talk a lot of good game about making sure you have more Satoshis the day after than the day before.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people that you're actually full of shit and you spent $700 on a Switch 2 pre-order instead of buying sats? Should we talk about that? How does that do for your treasury? Has Dennis Porter reached out to you to tell you how bad a mistake that was?
No, but you're telling a half story though, Joey.
No, I would never do that.
So if I were to do this, I would allegedly purchase more than one, which I may have already done, and with the intention of scalping and earning even more sats as a result. People in the past allegedly did very well with other consoles like PlayStations and Xboxes and so forth. So if given an opportunity in hypothetical world, I wouldn't want to miss out again. Where
Purely
potentially I made a big gains.
Purely
So
hypothetical,
yeah. To be perfectly honest, Joey, zero. And I spoke to 2 people about this today. Still have zero intention of keeping any. It's either one of 2 things. It's if it can't be scalped for more, it's going to be returned to the vendor for refund. I have zero fucking. Normally I'm first in line for getting this, but this time, fuck it. I have zero fucking interest in this. Absolutely none.
I have no time, and we'll still be keeping the unit that I pre-ordered and hoping that Zelda comes out or Pokemon or something.
So if a Zelda came out, I would change my. If a proper Zelda came out,
a new Zelda.
There's a Hyrule Warriors type.
No, it's bullshit. Flagship or bust. Flagship or die. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what. So in the meantime, I'll be happy just to sit on the sidelines and wait for sats to continue to rise in price, and hopefully, and then buy the Switch 2 at a later price. 2 things I'm hoping for. One, I get them in time for June 5th. Well, this is all alleged, by the way. And 2, I'm hoping that there is exceeding demand than there is supply. So, and if that's the case,
it's a move. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm buying footballs off Amazon, putting mud on them and selling them for 50%.
Yeah. That's. But this is strictly the scalp. You know what, the PlayStation 5. That was the equivalent of being a central bank and printing money. That time, whoever had PlayStations 5 when it first came out, you had the ability just to print fucking money. Similarly, the same thing happened when the Switch first came out in March of 2017. The demand was so high, it was hard to find a Switch. You were printing money at that time. I'm having doubts that it's going to be a repeat of that with the Switch 2.
Keep your head up high, buddy. Keep your head up high.
My hopes are high, but I think realistically it's going to be returned.
I don't think people have any money. I mean, no one's got $700 for the unit plus Mario Kart these days. So
people are willing just to pay whatever for video games. They'll borrow, they'll steal, or whatever. It just seems to be like they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I want to be there to capitalize on that.
Let's do it.
So some more capitalization on stuff. We got this Strive Asset Management. Joey, you heard about this one, right?
Go ahead.
It's co-founded by your buddy Vivek.
Unreal.
Right? Strive Assets Management. And they're a company. They plan to do a publicly traded asset management. Sorry, to be the first publicly traded assets management company that does a Bitcoin treasury strategy, a Bitcoin treasury company. So they're going to accumulate Bitcoin.
Can we just talk about? I don't want to cut you off, but it's just a dumb fucking. I'm gonna pull up the. I'm gonna pull up the tweet. We're at the point of the cycle. You may remember, listeners and viewers, that Len, 5 years ago, when people were trying to upset Bitcoin and become the new Bitcoin, what were they all saying? This is, it's the better Bitcoin. This is the evolution of Bitcoin. This is, the Bitcoin 2.0.
They say the best way to describe it was solving a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could describe it.
I think you're right. And these guys use this sort of terminology. Now, here's what they're saying about Strive Asset Management. See if can I zoom in on this? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hold on. Bear with me here. It is the evolution of the MSTR model.
And so that's
what stage of the fucking cycle are we at here? Where we got to have the evolution of the MSTR is doing the most exotic financialization of an equity that is financializing another asset that anyone has ever seen. Okay. Even the people who love Sailor are asking themselves, what the fuck is Bitcoin torque? And how is this going to make me any money? Now, this guy's telling me he's going with an evolution of the. I don't need this. I don't need this. No one needs this. We don't need any more Bitcoin.
There's a lot of this going around.
It's popping up everywhere. I know. I think this is. Don't hold your tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
This to me reeks of cycle high. This has to stop. It has to stop.
Somebody said this. I'm not taking credit for this whatsoever. So what I'm saying, I'm paraphrasing what I read on X, and I wish I could give the dude credit. But the way he said it, or she, whatever, said it in like 2017 is, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my ICO.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in 2021, it's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my DeFi.
That sounds like something
2020
D would say, honestly.
well, I'm going to get to that. He says, next one is 2023. It's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my NFT. And then the next one, buy my JPEG. But now it's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy
my stock.
stocks in my company.
Yeah, buy my stock. And by the way, like it's not just Saylor. Like there's a lot of companies doing this, right?
Yeah,
Adam O'Brien, friend of the show, but like he gets on Spaces sometimes. And he wants you to buy his stock instead of buying Bitcoin. It's Coinbase, same thing, right?
No, who's friend of the show? Who did you
Adam
mention?
Bitcoin Well.
Oh, well, they're doing
and others,
doing
right?
their own version of it. I'm not trying to say it's good or bad. It's just like whatever.
It is the flavor du jour, right? Everyone is doing this.
Yeah. Like, and I I talked about it with you, I guess last week or the week before. Bitcoin is the easiest investment strategy because you just have to do really just one thing. You just buy and hold, right? There's nothing else you have to do. Just buy and hold and just continually do that. You're okay. And another thing like that came to me is like Bitcoin, they talk about it as being risky, volatile, all this stuff. But in reality, it's none of that stuff. It's the total opposite. It's the safest fucking thing you could buy, especially if you zoom out long enough.
Yeah.
There's no rug that could happen. There's nobody that's going to stop you from accessing your bank account, which we've seen people get shut out. You have your Bitcoin. That's it. There is the risk, I will say, and this is just my own words. I mean, I think it's virtually not there as long as you're able to secure it correctly. Right? Like that's the one thing.
What was there was like a podcast or something that TFTC or 1031 or whatever came out with. It was called The Last Trade, right? There's no sell point. It's just a buy and hold trade. And anyone who's done that, it's at 102,000. What is that right there on your block clock? 103,000. How many people are underwater on $103,000 Bitcoin? Is it 5%? Is it 5%, 4%?
Yeah,
less
and
than
if
that?
you
Like,
are,
it's nothing.
Just wait 4 years. I would imagine somewhere within the 4-year period of time, it's going to go above whatever you bought it at. Yeah. I think the high was 108, 109. I have a sneaky suspicion we'll get above that number, even by $1. So you got an opportunity to sell if you want.
You're a winner. You're a winner. You can get.
You are certainly a winner. And why? Like now, I don't want it to shill MSTR. I wouldn't. But if you have an opportunity to buy this STRV, that's a ticker, or MSTR, which one are you gonna? At least MSTR. To their credit, it's a profitable company, right? Like they have a product to sell. The only thing I can say about STRV, given the fact that they have Vivek running it, I would imagine their operating expenses for paying people is quite low.
H1Bs? I think he's hiring H1Bs.
I would imagine this is driving down that expense.
Yeah, check the balance
Other
sheet.
than that, what sort of advantage do they have?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think any. I'm with you. If you're going to buy a Bitcoin treasury company, like I'll level with you, okay? Like I still DCA into MSTR and Coinbase and a few other things. Like I said before, at rates that are much lower than they were a few years ago, because I prefer to just grow my stack. And actually, I've mentioned on this show that in years past, my strategy on dips was to increase my DCA across everything that I invest in. But now the DCA on the equity side always stays low. And if there's ever dips, I just roll it all into Bitcoin at spot through bull, right? But I think if you're going to do that, I would agree with your sentiment that MSTR, clearly the best company of the lot, Bitcoin aside. And then if you're talking about Bitcoin treasury, who's doing it better than them? You can disagree with the strategy. You can disagree with...
You're doing it better than them.
Sure. But
you are.
You know what I mean?
I can guarantee you.
You know what I mean? If you're going to buy an equity, if you're one of these guys who just wants an equity, wants something that you perceive to be high beta, then this is the thing to buy. It's not... It's funny, like it's been altcoins in the past, NFTs. You can make the case even that it was ordinals a few years ago if you wanted to beat Bitcoin or try and beat Bitcoin. But now, like people are waiting for alt season, and I'm starting to see more and more people who I watch out of curiosity as opposed to because I respect them, come to the same realization that a lot of Bitcoiners have come to over the last year or so, that the alt season already started. It's, you know, more than halfway through, and it's actually in MSTR and the treasury companies, and not in these like garbage utility tokens, the Rube Goldberg token ecosystem. I think that that's probably true. And I think, Len, that, you know, I don't know if the air is going to come out from MSTR. I don't know if it's going to come out from Semler or Metaplanet or, you know, any of these other companies. But there's a part of me that thinks it's at least possible that these guys just run a flywheel that works because people want Bitcoin more and more and more, and more people start buying spot, buying those equities, buying those, and the money just flows in and keeps flowing in perpetuity. Not to say there won't be downdrafts or crashes or whatever, but you know, you and I have talked about this before. Are we done with the 50% crash from the top?
No.
You don't think? I really think it's possible that the more we see these companies buy Bitcoin with no intention to sell and accumulate, you know, to the tune of 1 million almost, between Sailor, Personal, and MSTR, is he going to be at 1 million by the end of next year? By the end of this year? Like, are you telling me 1 million Bitcoin are not moving no matter what the price is? Satoshi's coins are not moving no matter what the price is. The hodler base gets stronger and won't sell no matter what the price is. I want to know, like, happen. I know, but I'm saying, like, where does the 50% drop come from?
Well, if something happens to, I'll give you an example. Where is a lot of this being held in custodial services, right? Fidelity, sure. Coinbase.
Yeah.
If ever there is a hint, and these are not held in one fucking wallet. These things are spread out in many, many things. So it's divided. So if somehow one gets compromised, the whole thing's not lost. But as soon as you get the hint, because North Korea, for one, you could tell they're like, this is a honeypot. They're fucking going to nail this as much as they can. As soon as you get wind that just one of these accounts, these wallets, even with just a fraction of a Bitcoin, even if it's like 0.25 Bitcoin, gets fucking nabbed, the level of trust people have in these companies, not just Coinbase and Fidelity, but also the companies which use their services, it's going to fucking tank. Mm-hmm. And then as a result, that's just one scenario I could think of, and that's a plausible scenario that could happen at any time.
Definitely.
So what happens if the United States becomes adversarial against something like Bitcoin and MSTR, which probably won't happen under this regime, but there may be a change. And if they do, because Trump has hitched his wagon to Bitcoin, so to speak, if there's somebody else that's not named Trump and they want to be an anti-Trumper, so to speak, then they could easily go against Bitcoin. And what happens to the price of Bitcoin? What happens to the price of MSTR?
That's a different story. I'm more thinking of like the sort of natural blow off tops we've seen in the past, right? These cycles that hit their highs and then basically vanish, you know, over the course of 72 hours, you drop 20%, 30%. We've seen this in every cycle.
Was not natural. You had Terra Luna blow up because of, they would just sheer stupidity.
Yeah. It's like rehypothecation. Okay. Is that natural or not? Yeah. I see the point.
I don't know. So a lot of this is just forces, external or internal, that are just creating this. It's hard to say that I can't say for certain it's never going to happen again. And even a 50% drawdown brings us to 50K at this point, which, you know, like, you'd be laughing at that.
I know.
And that's a wonderful buying opportunity, man. People that are sitting on dry powder.
Truly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I still remember doing the Why Bitcoin podcast with Jeff and Doug. Now Sly Goomba, I guess, back in 2021. It's probably the same summer. It was the same summer I got married. So we were just starting our show. And the price of Bitcoin was like, it couldn't have been more than, I don't know, 20K-ish. And I remember talking to those guys and telling them that, you know, you and I did I don't know how much of a chunk of your buys were done at 3,000 or less, but, you know, I had a lot. And those guys are going, man, I wish we would have been around at that time.
You're always wishing.
I know, but I cannot emphasize enough that, like, you're in that time right now for the you 5 years from now.
Yeah, and you're always there.
You just have to be like, you have to be confident that this is going to work, and you have to be confident in you know, making enough money, being a net producer like Preston Pish says, and putting it into this. It's, you know, it's the opportunity of a lifetime, and you know, you're watching things unfold around you that tell you more and more that the digital financial system is not going to be that friendly to a lot of things you may enjoy, and you're going to need something like this. And you may need something like this to be agile, to be a true, multinational individual, to be a true jet setter, to move your family or to pay for a proper school or pay for proper food, all these things. I can't stress it enough, man. The opportunities are there right now, and you have to know that they're there, and not worry that you missed it 5 years ago, right? It's the old planting the tree adage. The best time is now, as opposed to yesterday. So keep that in mind. And yeah, Metro, good point. But buy for your kids, if not yourself. I think about that all the time now. Every time I buy, it's good for my little one, good for my wife, good for if something happens to me, I want everyone to be taken care of, and that's something you got to keep in mind too. There's no better way to do any of this stuff. Bitcoin serves so many purposes that not having any at this point is irresponsible. Is where I would come down.
Not just to end it on the Strive one, let's move on to a very close story. Did you hear about this Nakamoto Holdings by David Bailey?
Yeah,
right. It's
today.
It's the same, right? It's the same fucking shit. They're doing another one. They're doing they're going ahead with a SPAC with Kindly MD KDLY, and so that's where they're getting their foot into the public trading forum. And again, it's another one that's going to try doing the same thing. Like, we just basically outlined everything. Good thing, bad thing. The question is, why would anybody want to buy? But whatever. If you do, all the more power to you. Yeah, Bitcoin just sitting there. Just buy it, hold it. Don't even think about it. It's just such an easy fucking thing to do. And if something happens, you can always get access to your Bitcoin, right? As long as you have access to your keys and internet, of course. But even then, you don't even need internet. There's people are finding creative ways by relaying off with ham radios and shit like that. So fuck, man.
Yeah,
I'm even more bullish now on Bitcoin than I was 2 minutes ago. There's so many different ways you could fuck all this bullshit.
I kind of, to backtrack on some of the stuff I said about the treasury companies, I don't think a lot of them are going to work the same way that MSTR does. But it sounds like you're the same. It does make you more bullish to see them popping up, doesn't it?
No, the reason I'm more bullish is because I could broadcast transactions without the internet. I could use a ham radio.
No, I know. But does it not make you more bullish to see companies realizing that you have to have Bitcoin on your balance sheet? And actually, it's as a treasury strategy for a publicly traded ticker. This is maybe a one-trick pony that works to draw in failing fiat dollars and transmute them into valuable Bitcoin equity.
Nah, you know what? If you took me back a week, my level of bullishness really hasn't changed. Even though I said it went up, it hasn't changed. And a week ago, we didn't have MSTR buying another, I don't know how much they announced today.
Billion and change, yeah.
And then we didn't have this Nakamoto merger. We didn't have this Strive. But still, my level of bullishness was the exact same. It always is going to be the same. I don't care who fucking buy. I honestly, anyone take out New Hampshire, I don't give a fuck who the hell is buying it. Who the heck? I just don't, because of the fact that I could own it and I could just control it. It's such a powerful fucking tool that's available, and you don't have that in traditional with fiat, right? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Just stuff dollar bills up your ass and travel across the world? You can't do that. So Bitcoin gives you so much more freedom than does fucking fiat. I don't know, whatever. Let's just talk about your buddy Mashinsky.
Sure.
Right? Like
12
this
years.
Guy. Yeah. 12 years. Crypto fraud, right? This is the former CEO of Celsius.
Deserved easily, right? I think that's a no-brainer.
Is it light? Like SBF got 25 years. CZ got a summer at the Club Fed. Do Kwon is facing up to 130 years, right? Like there seems to be the 2022 purge of the CEOs is happening, of the shitcoin CEOs is going through. But to go back with Celsius, they were offering, like, people, what the fuck is this? If they're late to this game, they're wondering what Celsius was. They were offering us an exchange, and they're giving people rewards for depositing their assets. They claimed to be, this is the wonderful thing, safest place for your crypto, and they filed for bankruptcy in July 2022. And they also paid a hefty fine to the SEC of $4.7 billion. That's one of the largest fines in history. Where they had that money, I have no idea. And still, with all this being said, they still have, that's floating around, the token that it is Celsius, this CEL token, and there's still value to that. I cannot fucking believe people still have value. And it's still being traded out there because that is their token and they're fucking bankrupt. But you know what? If somebody's willing to pay for it, there's going to be value for something. For this, what the fuck? I
Do
don't
you
know what to say.
remember the Celsius? Like it was like a database of leaked names of people who held Cell token. You could just like search in a very simple GUI
Oh
for a
yeah,
name, and the number of people who actually owned Celsius token was like fucking so high. People who
Some
like, yeah, they're
Bitcoiners.
really good, big, exactly. And you know, when people like when I wish I could still find that. I was looking for it the other day, and couldn't pull it up.
Well,
But
to give him, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass here because remember that was in 2022. I'll be honest, I was using Ledin at that time. They were a sponsor of our show.
not the same. Not the same. No token, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
but
you know,
I mean,
like
I was
obvious
collecting
flywheel
yield.
scam. I can't believe still that people watched that debate with Schiff, Saifedean, and Mashinsky, and Schiff and Saifedean lining up like two planets that had never lined up before. And both they're looking at this guy like, you can't give fucking 7% or 17% or whatever the number was in perpetuity to everyone. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Mashinsky sat there with a straight face and tried to spin it. And now he's going to be sitting with a straight face in a prison cell. So sucking on something that's not a pina colada. I guarantee you that. I wish him all the best.
I wonder if he's going to get out early, 25 years. And he's not a young guy. I'm going to guess he's in his late 50s, early 60s.
He's probably in his 50s. He missed his kid's graduation and broke down in tears the day of his sentencing. Fucking idiot.
Due to crime.
Yeah.
Good time.
That's right.
Coinbase. Coinbase.
Ding, ding, ding.
And yeah, so let's just figure out where their heads are at. Like Bitcoin, price of Bitcoin is doing pretty good. So like people are buying Bitcoin. People are talking about Bitcoin. We got these companies talking about Bitcoin strategies. We got states talking about Bitcoin reserves. And what do? Coinbase scooped up a new asset this past week. And it is the crypto options exchange company called Deribit.
I love this.
$2.9 billion.
Yeah.
They're focused on Bitcoin and Ether options. And Bloomberg. I call him Bloomberg was reporting that Deribit's value is in the range of $4 to $5 billion. So based off that, looks like Coinbase got a steal, almost half off. And it seems like they were forced to make this move because Kraken bought up one of Deribit's competitors in the options world, and that was called NinjaTrader. They bought that for $1.5 billion. These fucking names.
We got to spin something up. How can we not spin something up and sell it for $1 billion? Like, how hard can it be? Look at this graphic I made with AI. We can make a friggin' derivatives market, can't we?
I'm sure we
SEC,
can.
cover your ears. We're going to spin up a derivatives market and sell it for $1 billion by the end of next year. Put it in the book. Write it down.
It's going to be easy to code. Just go to ChatGPT. Could you please code this?
Yeah.
I want to right?
Also tell me how to avoid the SEC's enforcement arm.
Well, it's got to be what countries up there kind of are friendly towards that? Is it Bermuda?
I don't know. We could ask Brookfield Asset Management if they have any rooms in that building in the Caymans. We can maybe just grab a couple computers and a server rack in there, see if we can spin something up.
But we need a good front man, a good PR guy. I'm thinking about that Baby King that used to work for, or probably still works for, what's the Luxfolio? What's that guy's?
Baby Larry King.
He'd be good, right?
Sometimes Len sends me stuff from eras past. He sent me a screenshot of a friend of the show,
Larry King Jr.
talking to, I can't remember the guy's name. But yeah, truly like interview autist. Yeah, we should get that guy. What's he doing these days? Does he want to do a show on the network?
Put a black background, some lights, just copy that.
I'm gonna fucking pull him up. I gotta find that guy. But anyway, keep talking. Tell me
we have connections. We could talk. We could talk to Dean to get this done, right? And he's been interviewed by him. Anyways, there's nothing more I gotta say about this. Like Coinbase, they're going into like I don't know, man. It's like just fucking deal with Bitcoin. I don't know
why are you surprised by this?
I'm not surprised. I'm just like
Okay.
giving him some suggestions. Just fucking deal with Bitcoin. Don't deal with this garbage here. And whatever. Fuck them.
Okay. I like the acquisition. The way I see this, the way I see this
I
is,
still say fuck them.
I know, I know. The way I see this playing out is Coinbase is going to get into all sorts of degenerate gambling behavior. And right now it's thinly veiled, behind this curtain of derivatives trading in the two most liquid crypto markets that are regulated by the SEC and CFTC and the American government. And it's onshoring and it's going to be monitored and surveilled and all these good things that the government loves. And all the seals are clapping in Congress, except Liz Warren, who will tell you, of course, that this will bankrupt you if you don't, submit to the state, whatever. But I expect Len to see Coinbase doing sports gambling by the end of next year, 2 years from now, and everything in between in the meantime. People with crypto have a fuck ton of money now because as long as you didn't sell at some stupid time, you've made a boatload in terms of the actual value of your portfolio. And let's face it, there's a certain sect of the Bitcoin realm, and it's an even bigger part of the crypto realm of people who want to gamble. They like the rush, they like the feeling, they think they got an edge, and whether it's a real or perceived edge matters very little to Coinbase. They will take your money, take your scalp and your fees, and they will take your account and make sure that they expose you to as much of their other products as they can while you venture around their platform trying to make a couple of bucks gambling. So I think this is great. I think it's a no-brainer. The derivatives market in Bitcoin getting deeper by the day. Ethereum, I don't know. I think the Ethereum flows are basically dead. Like I think they had a negative week last week on ETFs again, even with their big update. So, whatever.
We don't need to bring fiat to Bitcoin. Bitcoin in its
we don't need to do any of this stuff.
sense,
I totally agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that if you're a Coinbase bag holder, me, you like this. It's because you're going to get money from people who are otherwise, playing with NFTs and other bullshit that takes fucking 10 extra steps. Why not just send your ETH or whatever token to Coinbase? You could also be buying it there already. Coinbase probably sells what? Are they selling 300 tokens at this point? More? I don't know what they're selling.
Way more.
Probably more. So, you can buy anything there and then gamble with it. Perfect. Play in the derivatives market. Perfect. I'm all in. No problem. By the way, derivatives gives you, derivatives on a market the size of Coinbase, a user base the size of Coinbase, gives you a better data point for price predictions in Bitcoin and Ethereum too, which is also fun. It's another interesting wrinkle to all this. So Len's just shaking his head.
Just
like, oh my God.
And even I could say that Coinbase's, their ability to stay afloat impacts my bag's value. If something happens to Coinbase, the value of everybody's Bitcoin is going to go down.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
I say this, that there is indirect linkage to my value, my portfolio, and Coinbase doing well. They can fuck right off. They could just fuck that. All these products is just more fiat trash. Like I say, Bitcoin in its purest sense is perfect. It is, you just have Bitcoin, use Bitcoin. You don't have, what the fuck, buy some more somehow or earn some more, right? Like it's beautiful, right? Like that's perfect, and can't get rugged in that environment. Ups and downs happen on their own, not because of some stupid thing that you introduced and then it just blew up and then it just topples the whole market by its, like, fuck it. This is Bitcoin on its own is wonderful. Let's not introduce more garbage. Fiat's trash because of all this garbage. I don't think we
have a ton of notable stories, so I want to.
No, we do.
Oh, do we? Okay, we should talk about this though. Boomer saying in the chat something that I'm hearing more and more. We'll never get to hyper-Bitcoinization without the fiat games. Yes or no?
So hyper-Bitcoinization, define that for me. That's everything's priced in sats. Is that what it is?
I've not considered what the definition of that might be, but it's got to be something close to that, right? Hyper-Bitcoinization is something like that.
Kind of look at it, and I don't know if I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime. I think there's always going to be some fucking bullshit to like associated with it. Somebody's going to print something, and maybe like going back in time when there was the US dollar that was backed by gold. You you had something else that was gold. And I think I think that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin eventually. There's going to be some other bullshit they're going to introduce for us.
Maybe
that's going to be Bitcoin adjacent, Bitcoin backed. Oh, did I lose you or did I lose?
I think you're kind of lagging on my side. I don't know how it looks to people in the chat, but I mean, I can still make out everything you're saying. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I just think it's an interesting question that there's a number of people in Bitcoin who are like, sort of the purity test types who, don't seem to understand that global reserve asset does not come by, using Bitcoin for t-shirts at conferences. You need more than that. And I don't know what more than that means. I don't know where the line is, but it's definitely way past local marketplaces. I'm not sure if it's, $1 trillion derivatives markets, but it might be. I'm not sure.
What's the goal here? I am very selfish in my goal is that I just want to ensure that my wealth is not whittled away due to stupidity.
Okay.
And I have total access to that wherever I am. That's a very selfish way of looking at it, but that's what I want. And to me, as long as that's achieved, and I'm nearly there, I believe, it's total success. Everything else I could deal with. I could deal with the fiat shit because I could always come in and out, and I don't care about it. So that's success to me with Bitcoin, is when you're able to use it in that regard. That's a huge success.
Okay. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I just, it's an interesting thought experiment. We should talk to somebody about that. I'm not sure. Energy traded in Bitcoin is what
you're talking to me about this.
No, I mean, like we should talk to like someone who thinks we need all the fiat. We need all the fiat games.
No, then you just create some more problems that don't need to be introduced. Fuck it.
Yeah, I think you'd be right. Let's go to notable stories. We got plenty of those. We got plenty of those. If you're on audio, come back tomorrow for the rest. If you're on video, stay tuned, stay with us, and we will be back. Well, in 0 seconds, really, but through the magic of audio editing. If you're on the other side, it'll be tomorrow. So take care of yourselves
and get the fuck out.
Nice. Okay, so football mudding update. I've been ordering these balls off Amazon, the blemished ones, and I got one the other day. No blemish. Obviously, it looks great, but look at blue markings without knowing that they were going to send me that. So I'm.
Is that a bigger thing?
It's the same ball, same everything. Wilson GST, but I'm gonna break this one in, mud it, and then try and sell it. I just sold a colored
Pro V1.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of neat, right? I don't think you can even buy these in Canada. You have to get them from the Wilson website directly. So somebody must have just not liked the color or the stitching, but it looks pretty good to me. I sold my last one for $230. So I'm going to try and do the same
allegedly
again. Yeah, allegedly. Exactly. And try and do the same again for this one. And keep it going.
Maybe like the idea may come across that you may want to sell it. I mean, who knows if you're going to.
I kind of want to keep it, to be honest with you. It's a nice color. It's not my team's colors, but that aside, it's nice to look at. Yeah. Anyway.
Can we talk about Chicago quickly? Because it's been a while since we talked about Chicago.
Why not?
Right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Let's go right into it. So a beauty of a post on X, and it was talking about the Illinois State Board of Education, and they released some data.
I love it.
Their Illinois report card for 2024. Love this. Love it very much.
Do you have it? Is it in the stories? No, because it was today, right?
No, this just came up. So like this was very late in the game, added to the stories, to my stories here, and it mentioned 24 specific schools in the state of Illinois that their students have proficient in reading at 0 level. Like they have no ability to read at the grade in which they are in. That's 24 schools that they're reporting 0 students that could report at the grade in which they're in. That is pathetic. Not only that, it also shows the graduation rates of some of the schools. Some of the schools are like 21. That's the lowest I see. 28, 38, 52, 50, 56. Chicago Collegiate Charter School comes up as one of them. The Bowen High School. Like, these are beauties out there. And these are the people that are going to be maybe graduating. Maybe not. Who knows? But they're the ones that are going to be paying in.
Teachers want a raise, by the way. Don't forget. Yeah.
It may not just be a teacher thing. It just could be a societal thing.
I know exactly what it is. It's that some kids and some families just don't have the chops, and there's differences between those families that they just can't do it. Kids cannot go home to environments that are chaotic, that are noisy, that are not conducive to learning. They can't be in classrooms that are noisy, dangerous, not conducive to learning. They can't be, in environments in the city. How many times we talked about Chicago as Chirac, that are noisy, dangerous, not conducive to learning. And if you expect those kids to perform at a level in which they, are successful or can be successful or can contribute to a community, you're dreaming. And then on top of that, Len, like, I hate to say it, and people are going to say, oh, this is racist. No, there's white people, black people, Indian people, brown people, Chinese people, whatever, who are having kids that shouldn't have kids. If you don't have the wherewithal to raise a family, then it's possible that you shouldn't be having children. And like, it's not something we can dance around anymore, because soon, Len, the density of these cities in terms of the population that's this caliber will be too much to ignore. And what do you do with a city like Chicago that's a couple million people when none of the best and brightest are staying, only the worst are staying, and you get mayors like this Brandon Johnson guy, or like Lori Lightfoot, or the city's been going downhill for a long time. It's not a new thing. And when you see stories like this, 24 schools, you said, I think is the number, kids who can't read, can't do math, certainly wouldn't graduate under any normal circumstances, but the bar is lowered because someone somewhere is claiming it's racial disparity or some other bullshit. It's just that it's a disaster. It's a disaster zone over there. The best have left, and you're left with the worst. This is just the fact of the matter. It sucks.
The best have left where? If you're talking about other states, other cities?
Oh, they're not in Chicago. I'll tell you that. Like, I don't know.
Because if people want to go somewhere, say like in
Boomer's saying it too. I'll just mention this before you take over. Big cities are becoming hellholes because the best and brightest people realize they don't want to live in areas where like you're literally shoulder to shoulder with somebody all the time. This is basic sort of Maslow's hierarchy type stuff. And we've been pretending we can ignore it for a long time, but rational people with means are just like, I'm not ignoring this. I'm going to move somewhere that's quiet, out of the way.
There's
not on a fucking bus route, like it's stuff like that makes a difference. And you can pretend all you want, but human nature is human nature. And it's what people who have a choice prefer, and they leave.
Yeah. Well, there's some places that are still decent, that are populated, or they're cities, so to speak. So just, you got to find them. That there's fewer by today, but there's some still exist. Right. And so, but what I'm trying to get at, like, if you are trying to go somewhere on a global scale, like where's one of the best places in the world to earn a living? It's hard to dispute the United States as not being top choice or close to top choice, right? So that's where you go. So like, we're going to settle in Chicago or Illinois? Probably not. But those are the people that are graduating now that are or who knows if they're going to graduate? They
are going to graduate, but graduating is going to mean something different, right? That's the problem.
Well, no, the graduation rate was like less than 30% in some of them, so that means 70% are not graduating.
Yeah, but that'll change. That'll change. And
what do you think? They'll get kick after kick at the can?
For sure. Look at Ontario. Len, Ontario does the same thing, right? They don't fail kids anymore. The literacy test and mathematics standardized testing are regarded as, archaic methods to evaluate intelligence. And it's happened here. It's probably happening there. Certainly, it's happening in other places.
It's irrelevant if they graduate, because the reality is they don't have skill set that's going to enable them to earn a great deal of money. And by earning a great deal of money, that means you could be taxed at a higher rate. In which case, say what you want about taxation, but the state is then able to collect that and provide services to their constituents.
And if they can't tax, what happens? What do they do?
Right. Like, it's beautiful to have new roads. New airports, high-speed trains, shit that works, not stuff that's old, that's been
the other thing
yesteryear and it's crumbling because it just hasn't been maintenance, and there's not going to be maintenance until
you're exactly right.
Until
maintenance is a big thing. The other thing that I'll note is that if you live in a place like this where the tax base erodes, even if that government decides to go into debt to maintain, roads and other amenities, what is the likelihood that the people who live there can actually perform those maintenance tasks with any competence? It's very low. And, you wind up with these places that are ill-maintained. Think of Detroit. Have you been to Detroit in the last 10 years?
Like, Detroit has picked up quite a bit. It was really bad about 10 plus years ago, but it has turned around. Not a great place, but it's trending in the right direction. Still has a long way to go, but it's getting a lot better than where it was.
I think that is incorrect. I think that
Really?
yeah, I think that if you go, I was in Detroit 2 years ago, and there's entire swaths of the city you can't visit day or night.
It was like that for decades.
Yeah, and so
For
I
for
wonder,
one that made many, many trips to Detroit, I could tell you it was like that for fucking
yeah, and
decades.
so like there's lots of cities that are going this direction, I think, and like you mentioned, like I mentioned, there may be a few outliers, places like New York, where no matter how dense the population gets, and no matter how many schools are poor, with poor outcomes, I should say, people will still live there because there's some prestige, at least for the moment. But that's eroding. You know, you would have said the same thing maybe about San Fran 20 years ago. People will never leave San Fran. It's everyone's favorite city. There's prestige living there. Now no one wants to live there. Um, I think Toronto is getting dangerously close to that here in Canada. Vancouver certainly is already past that precipice. Um, you're going to see this more and more, you know, and it's going to be hard to ignore because, like I said earlier, everyone left is going to be so incompetent that the bar has to be lowered to make their incompetence seem normal, and
to
the
go
results
back
will speak for themselves.
to finding where you're gonna go, right? Like, where is it that you go?
I don't know.
That's the
You
thing.
got to go to small town Canada or small town USA, I think is the way I would answer that, because that's where competent people go. They don't just leave the planet. They migrate somewhere where income levels are higher, real estate prices are higher.
You're still
school
subjected
performance.
to the greater
You
garbage.
might be a little bit, but I will tell you, I know you say this about Dundas all the time. I'll tell you, I'm not
I never
exposed to
say
any of
anything
that.
about Dundas.
No. I say this about Dundas all the time.
Oh,
I'm not exposed to any of this. I never see any of these problems. Never. I never see fights. I never hear loud noises. I never have problems with my neighbors or walking my dog or walking out with my daughter. The school nearby is high performing.
Joey, you are talking exactly where I was 15 years ago, and not much has changed within my general vicinity, but a lot has changed with where I want to remain, and that's the thing. And so, in terms of where we're like, you're just behind where I was, and I have a sneaky suspicion you're gonna follow down the same fucking steps that I will as things progress.
Yeah,
and
I doubt it, honestly.
I don't know, man.
There's no room. There's the two things that separate where I live and where you live is there's no room for development here, and there's no city services here. So, you know, there's everywhere I look, there's a cemetery or a school. Not going to see any condos being built. Certainly nothing that's 50 floors. And there's no city services. So newcomers don't come here. Yeah, but you guys have tons of new development there.
50 floor condos?
Oh, yeah. I bet you there's 20, 30 floor condos within 10 minutes of your house driving.
Southern Oakville doesn't get this type of development because there is nothing to develop. That's what makes Southern Oakville something that people want to go to, because it is what it is. There's nothing else you could build upon it. There's a huge divide between the South and North part. But I'm telling you, 10, 15 years ago, we were like, if you ask me 10, 15, the exact fucking same situation that you are in now. But the difference is that moving forward, I'm done.
Yeah, you're leaving. You want out. You want out.
It's still beautiful where I am, and it may still remain beautiful, but there's more to it. There's more to just what's around me. And you just hop in a car and you go somewhere because eventually you have to, and then you get exposed to that. For me, maybe your skin is thicker than mine, or maybe just with age, I'm just less tolerant to this shit. I don't know, but I have one thing in mind, one goal. That is it. And that is just to get there. That is it. That everything between now and then is just basically going through the motion, just fucking doing the same fucking thing over and over until I'm able to. And then boom, gone. But until then, it's just buying my, it's it. It's bullshit. But fuck, let's go on to some other stuff.
Sure.
Because this GTFO stuff, to be honest, sparks a huge debate. If you go, not debate, a lot of conversation. If you go on our Discord, there's even somebody requested the channel. There's so many people talking about. More and more people are fucking deciding to just leave. It seems, but either way, from in Spain, this is a fucking beauty of a story.
Yeah.
If you plan to withdraw 3,000 euros, which is, I'll say, less than 5K Canadian, and if you do that from a Spanish bank, you got to notify the Agencia Tributaria. That's their Spanish tax agent, CRA, IRS, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So you have to notify them in advance. 24-hour notification is mandatory if you're withdrawing $3,000. If you're $100,000, 72-hour notice is required. So like 3,000 pounds. Oh, sorry, euros isn't a lot. 3,000 euros.
No, not at all.
People are going to withdraw this. I mean, not all the time, but within a given year, you're going to withdraw that because you got to pay this. You got to pay, like, it happens. But now you got to notify them, and now they got to know what the fuck you do. Like, it's your money. Like, why can't you get access to this? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just total control.
They're
want to
monitor
the
everything.
CBDC route in Europe.
100%. Yeah.
Right. This is probably just preparation to this, but like, come on. And the fines are huge. $150,000. So 150,000 euro is the potential fine if you don't do this. So there's a real incentive to make sure you do fucking provide this information.
What's the worst part of this? Is it that you have to report, or is it actually that if you report something that they decide is not true or not accurate, then you get the fine anyway, right? If I take out $5,000 and tell them, yeah, I'm going to just fucking throw it into the river and, or roll around naked in it in my bed and then set it on fire, and they say, yeah, that's not good enough, you're getting the fine. Like, then what do you do, right? Like, that's really the problem. The problem is that the explanation has to be good enough for them. My wife and I bought we're having a deck built in the backyard. And so we had to take out a not insignificant amount of money from the bank in cash. And the bank didn't ask anything. And I was surprised they didn't ask anything. In the past, I've taken out 5-figure sums for a roof and a couple of other big stuff over the years, a couple of big things over the years. Every time there's a question about what I'm doing with it. And it was before I was really waist deep, neck deep, I guess, at this point in Bitcoin. And I didn't give it much thought. But in retrospect, though, like, yeah, why the fuck do you need to know what I'm doing with the money that I earned, that I'm loaning you, that I want for purposes that are unrelated to anything you're doing? Well, the answer is because they want control. They want to intimidate you into staying above board on every transaction you engage in. And even if you tell them exactly what you're doing, they may not believe you. And then what is the consequence? That's one thing I haven't seen from the story. What are the consequences, or what are the legal ramifications of some story that they don't believe? I bet you they are pretty severe. There would be a significant alteration to your lifestyle for a short period of time, if not
or
more.
A long period of time for the rest of it.
If not more.
Then they'll use the guy's anti-money laundering as the reason for this. There may be some truth to that. There may be some.
They don't catch anybody. They don't catch anybody in the AML processes. We already talked about this. Like, every European bank has been implicated in these fucking money laundering schemes. TD here in Canada, literally laundering money for the Chinese mafia at Vancouver casinos. Literal hockey bags full of cash. Do you think the guy who walks into the fucking TD and gets a hockey bag stuffed full of Canadian dollars has to get dressed down by the fucking teenage teller? Hey,
the answer to this,
Mr. Chan, where are you taking the fucking Bauer bag full of cash? Doesn't happen. Only happens to you and me.
When TD Bank goes to the Bank of Canada and asks for money, the Bank of Canada should ask them to provide some rationale. And if not, they're going to fine them. So you got to give them the same type of treatment they give their customers, because let's be honest, TD Bank is a customer of the Bank of Canada, right? So that's what we got to extend this. Everybody's subjected to these fucking rules. And if they don't like it, they get fined.
Can we tell them that this is actually part of my investment budget, and I don't need to worry about where I spend it, and I can spend as much as I want without worrying about the consequences? Does that only work for the? No.
You know, a good one is you're looking to buy mutual funds.
I'm buying mutuals with another bank. I'm doing it in cash.
Yeah.
I'm taking pictures for my Instagram, I'm taking pictures for my Hinge profile. I need this cash.
Bill's fish chips and insurance and mutual funds. All right. The Federal Reserve, they held their rates, didn't change anything. Whoop-de-doo. Not sure if you want to talk about that, but I really don't give a fuck.
We can.
Exactly.
Do you have any comments? No, I don't know.
No, well, Bitcoin's holding steady, even though that they haven't dropped rates for months.
And
the last time they dropped was last year. Actually, December of last year was the last time they made a move.
They'll have to. They'll have to at some point. And
it's not
when they do.
We're
going to 150. So enjoy the cheap sats now, because that's coming. It's only a matter
India,
of time.
Pakistan. There's a skirmish going on over there.
Crazy. What is going on? India, Pakistan.
And like I said in a different chat, if there's ever a full-scale war between the two, because right now it's just they're taking pot shots at each other, and people are dying. I'm not trying to downplay it.
Did you see the video of the guy slacklining and
Yes.
he's like taking videos, and beneath him people are getting gunned. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is a crazy
He's
video.
unaware of what was going on. That
Yeah.
was 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so if there ever is a full-blown war, one thing Canada has done in the past, they've opened a door to displaced people, Syrians, Ukrainians, Palestinians immediately comes to mind. And I would imagine the same type of treatment may be given to people in that neck of
We
the
have to
woods.
absolutely stop those programs immediately. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. We have to stop it. Can I just note here that this is not going to be in the stories, but Keir Starmer has done a 180 in the last week on immigration, on culture, on a number of things that should be important to Canadians.
Do you know something, Joey?
What?
Something happened today, and I don't know if there's any connection with this, but 24 Downing or 12, where the fuck the Prime Minister of England resides, Downing Street. I forget the number.
Yeah.
There was a fire today in there. And I'm wondering if that was started by somebody.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And then police were called and everything. I wonder if it was because somebody started a fire and it just pissed him off. He's like, what the fuck happened? Okay.
Keir Starmer talking about how the UK has become an island of strangers. Great terminology. I think that's 100% true. And tweeting today, Len, this is a quote, if you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense. So we're raising English language requirements across every main immigration route. Wow.
What's the UK's second language? I don't know.
Is there one? I don't think there's one. Yeah.
Right. It's just that is the birthplace of the English language.
It's nuts. If you come to Canada, you should have to speak fluent English or French. And there's no exceptions. There's no exceptions to that. Well, I refuse to entertain that we are taking the best and brightest and they can't speak English or French. Like has to be part of the equation. It has to be.
I believe it used to be. I'm not sure what it is now. But
sure, shit is not now. You can't. I'm not going to get into it because I will say things that I will regret. But anyone who's living in Canada knows this is not anywhere on the list of requirements for immigrants to this country.
So there's different ways of looking at it. I'm talking about permanent residence under the skilled worker or economic class.
Yeah.
That made up, I don't know if it still does, made up the bulk of the people that came here under permanent residence.
Yeah.
Only permanent resident. And there was requirements to, or at least you had to prove
Used
English.
To be, you're saying, yeah.
And then I don't know what it is now.
There's no way there's still
that made the majority of it. But then there was other categories, like for example, you could sponsor a spouse, right? Like say, you sponsor, there was no requirement for
ridiculous.
Language.
It is ridiculous.
If you migrated here, right? Like, this is an example. You migrated here, you have an education, you have a job here, and then you marry somebody from back in your neighbor country and you want to bring him or her here. No. Why would they have to? You know, like you want to live with your loved one, right?
Too bad. We have to draw the line somewhere.
You're going to have to do this for a number of reasons. One is we're an aging population, and those boomers are slowly or very quickly moving out of the workforce into retirement and also passing on, but they're still going to collect and use up services that need to be paid into CPP, old age security, healthcare.
Okay, but see, this is you know what I think though. I think that's a bullshit thing because the CPP actuarial says that they can provide that without any new immigration and during an economic downturn.
They're going to have to do it because the birth rate because part 2 is our birth rate is low. And you're not having enough people to replace them over time. So you need to offset that with other people. And those other people are going to be
why do they have to replace at that level? Like what are we talking about here? What is the why here? I'm hearing the explanation, but the why doesn't make sense.
Taxation needs to be done through the duration.
Not my fucking problem. These people, that's exactly the answer though.
It will be your problem if you remain, because somebody is going to have to pay for your health care. Somebody's going to have to pay for your roads.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to pay for your child's school.
We'll be leaving
and
by
it's
that time.
Not going to be able to be done.
Yeah, we'll be leaving. I'm not going to stick around for that. No chance. This is why Bitcoin's so important. Because the people in charge will feed you stories and scare tactics about what needs to happen, and it's always something that makes your life fucking worse.
And it's not being able to drive a car.
It's the guy you order a coffee from doesn't fucking speak English. It's the guy driving the buses, got a 1-day fucking driver's license from some truck stop in Mississauga, and he's on the road with a full load of shit. Like everything is just making your life fucking worse.
And so that ties into my second point is not only do we have low birth rates, we have people of means leaving.
Yeah.
So that is further straining the ability to tax people here. And obviously, Rika talks about tax efficiencies, but when you have these older people that will use the service, will use healthcare more, will collect more CPP. You may say that it's self-funded the way it is right now, but
I don't say that. The actuarial says that. They say it's fine. They say that we don't need anything crazy. You'll need we can go through a downturn. CPP is fine for the boomers. They looked at this 30 years ago and planned for it.
And you'll need this constant revolving door of people coming in to replace those that left, those that are not giving birth, and to pay for those that are continually taking from the system. I'm talking about people that work here.
Just makes the problem worse and worse.
And this is, and that's the prediction I have. And I can't see this not playing out unless you have some real changes, like, for example, with respect to Alberta. Now, Alberta, there's talking about...
I want to see them leave so bad. We got to do this story. We should do this
story. We will discuss it. And they are reducing the requirements in terms of how many signatures are required to initiate a referendum for leaving Canada. I think the number is now lower to somewhere like 160,
and the time period that you have to collect those signatures also expanded, I think, by 50% from 60 days to 120 days.
They're making it easier to at least start the process. And then that potentially, that whole discussion may change how things are moving. Canada, I mean, I'm going to go back to the original topic. Canada for a long time would let in between 250, 300,000 people per year. That's when we had about 30 million people in Canada. And that seemed to work. It didn't strain the system too much. It didn't overload. And you know what? Everyone seemed to be welcoming people.
Allowed for assimilation. Yeah.
It's when it changed, when you went to 7 digits in a very short period of time, then it changed.
And they all settled in the same 4 places all over the country, the same 4 postal codes, basically.
Reverting back to where it was is probably the right move, because then you're back in that situation where you're just slowly bringing in people and they're able, as you say, to assimilate, and it's not a huge strain in the system. And then that's how you do it. And that's the proper way, in my opinion, how it's done. I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but Alberta separating might initiate talks of changing immigration system, or it might just initiate them fucking separating from Canada, which then creates problems with what do you do with the debt? For instance, the federal debt, it was accumulated with them part of it. Then do they just have to absorb a part of it if they are to go on their own? The 51st state, I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. You're bringing in a bunch of people. If you look at the American political spectrum, they're very left. Even though they're right from Canadian standards, they're probably left in U.S. standards. And would they bring that in? I don't know. A territory, potentially. Would Alberta want to be considered a territory? I don't know. And then that would really fucking it make things awkward for BC.
If they give Alberta preferred trade partner status, that would sweeten.
You talking United States or Canada or both?
The States. Canada would not do it. Are you kidding? Canada's, oh my God, led by the boomers. Who would vote for that? The boomers would hate it. They're completely clueless. The boomers like fucking goldfish. I had this conversation with my neighbor the other day. They don't remember anything 6 months ago. $9 bacon 6 months ago was fucking price gouging. Now $9 bacon with the same grocery store selling the $9 Canadian bacon, having the excuse to pull American bacon off the shelves. Elbows up, whatever. Make of that what you will. If the United States gives Alberta preferred trade partner status, that's a big time pot sweetener for that whole secession deal. I don't think Alberta would want to join the United States. I think the United States would be interested in having them just on the resource side, but Alberta doesn't need them. Why would they not just embrace the Saudi model? Come here, start a business. The currency is strong. Everything is backed by oil. We have fucking tons of it, and we're going to ship it out. And by the way, which provinces do you think would last without the equalization payments coming from Alberta? Certainly not anything east of Quebec. Maybe not anything east of Ontario. and like, you know, the further east you go, these other provinces would be starving. They will starve in a year, 2 years. Not, you know, not literally, of course, but figuratively, certainly from a financial point of view. Without those equalization payments, they'd be in a bit of a hard spot. And as far as the debt, like, okay, I guess you can saddle me with the debt, but then you also have to saddle me with my contributions to the CPP, my contributions to Ontario, Quebec, Vancouver, BC healthcare. Like, if you want to give me the debt, you got to give me everything else. Otherwise, just exit out on the balance sheet. We'll start fresh, and we'll call it zeros.
That's a good point. I didn't think about the CPP
like they've done all kinds of stuff for the country, and they've not gotten. Let's face it, they've not gotten much back. They don't have any Senate seats. I think 6 Senate seats from Alberta, right? 24 from Ontario, 20 from Quebec, if I remember correctly, something like that. It's a fairly high number from Laurentian sort of central power structure.
This is a holdover from when.
Yeah, but it hasn't
Federation
changed.
days.
It hasn't changed.
No,
right?
and it won't.
Exactly.
It won't change.
And so until it does, Alberta also playing hardball today, freezing the carbon tax. They're saying we're not paying any more than this. Ottawa can do whatever they want. We're not going to pay it. We're not.
There's still the
interested.
carbon tax that's implemented.
It's some kind of carbon pricing structure that they have.
Didn't Carney talk about his plan for this when he had 3 minutes to speak with Trump?
You know what? He did not. So
what the heck did he talk about?
I'm curious about what this looks like for Alberta. I will note that whenever a new prime minister is elected, generally the premiers come to Ottawa for a meeting with the PM and the PMO to discuss priorities and sort of have their voices heard. Carney, to his credit, is having that meeting out west. So a message, sentiment shift, I don't know, but I have to give him credit for that. That's good. I like the way that looks. And I just keep listening to Doomberg and thinking like, okay, man, this guy, maybe he got it right. Maybe Danielle Smith is feigning separatism, and we're going to get Fortress North America on the back of Alberta oil, just like Trump wants. And we see a golden age of energy production bullishness, energy cost being low, and we're wrong about Mark Carney. This turns into a Mark Carney fan page.
You know what? I wish him the best.
So do I. I should note that. I said this to my neighbors the other day, and I'll say it again here. Again, unpopular, but he is the better politician of him and Poilievre. And if he turns out to be a better prime minister, I will not be surprised. I don't think anyone at this point, I can't imagine anyone will be.
I defended him for being the central banker, not just because of the fact that what role could he really do in terms of impacting the economy? It's kind of like with the at least the Bank of Canada. It's almost like not really a department of the government. It's like an agency. The government of Canada could survive without the Bank of Canada, but the Bank of Canada can't survive without the government of Canada. That's the relationship. But last quick story, is we're running to the end of this.
Sure.
Is the cricket factory in London
in receivership, even after getting a boost from the government, right?
Yeah, this is not good news for people that are looking to eat their crickets. So they might have to look abroad to get it, or maybe domestic, or maybe make it and cook it.
Grind your own cricket dust. Yeah, can you do that? Put it in your magic bullet.
Yeah. The options are limitless, but you have to pay a higher. Well, at least if you're in the States, you probably have to pay more for that magic bullet because of tariffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's too bad. So no crickets for everybody. At least not Canadian made.
You can't get elbows up crickets anymore. You'll have to buy your crickets from overseas. Yeah.
And you know what? Like,
shipped here in a boat or whatever.
But the thing is, you don't know if it's in any of the foods too.
It probably is. Honestly, I've resigned myself to that fact. I try not to eat eggs all the time. I know there's no crickets in my eggs. So
because I know Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, soon after coming into power, she put a law in place saying you can't put this in shit like pasta and stuff, which leads me to believe they were putting this in shit like pasta before all this came into play, which is rather scary. So what the heck are we fucking eating over here? I don't know.
Me neither. A lot of Red 40 and a lot of crickets. That's it. Come back tomorrow for Shay talking Bitcoin from overseas. The overseas perspective on corn and related topics. Until then, everyone, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be a cock.